Waimon, how's everybody doing tonight? And making his epic return to the channel, my brother, Kid Takeoff. How you
Yeah,
doing, buddy?
doing good, bro. Doing good, doing good. Chilling, chilling, chilling.
Today we're talking about a classic, and to celebrate Battle Hour and New Dragon Ball Room, we got to go back to arguably the very beginning of Toyotaro's career, his original fan manga, his version of Dragon Ball AF. Now, granted, there are multiple versions of this fan manga, so we're covering his version specifically.
Yeah, I would say, for a fan manga, I highly recommend Dragon Ball AF. I mean, if anybody has the time to watch it, it is on YouTube. It has been animated, fan animated.
And yes, this one basically this was during like Toyotaro's before he was taken in by Toriyama, and you can actually see where he repurposed some elements of this in the Goku Black art. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Hmm.
So this pretty much starts with basically let's just I wasn't gonna factor a flashback, but I'll go ahead and get the flashback out of the way. This kind of takes place while Goku's on Yardrat because technically he does end up on an Odyssey training in Yardrat for a year and a half. And during that time, he stumbles upon this supposed alien princess. She offers him a feast. Goku eats till he's full, falls asleep, and then this alien princess steals a sample of his blood and dips. Go, Goku's not the wiser. He kind of deduces the whole thing as a dream until
Yeah.
he's reminded of it years later.
Yep.
AF actually sponges off from GT because that was the last piece of Dragon Ball content we had outside of the games prior. So this I would say AF takes place like 5 years after GT, 4 5 years give or take.
And isn't this gonna go along the road where we're gonna get like Rygor and Zygor?
That's Young Gigi's version. This one is strictly Zykor.
I was just wondering. I said I knew when you said still a sample of blood. I knew where this was headed.
Yeah, but like I said, there are multiple versions of this fan manga, Dragon Ball AF, but Toyotaro is only responsible for the one that creating Zykor and a fan manga called Dragon Ball Zero, which we might debut in a later episode of Dynamic Duo, where it's basically a brief origin for Raditz before being recruited under Vegeta and Nappa Squad.
Hmm.
But
But
hey, story. Go ahead.
you can go ahead.
But but again, that's a story for a different day. So we then cut to like GT, all like the Shadow Dragon, Super 17, all that pretty much boils down the same way, including Goku's disappearance. Because according to GT and Final Legacy, he does leave with Shenron and disappear from the living world for 100 years. If that flash forward to the end of GT is anything to go by. And you've ever wondered where Shenron goes while the Dragon Balls are dormant or when he's not in use? A separate dimension called the Dragon Realm. Granted, this was not a fully canonized idea by Toriyama, Toei, the Dragon Room, nothing like that. This is strictly Toyotaro, or when he was going by the name Toyble at the time. So Goku's in this separate realm. He's training. He's basically sparring with like purified versions of the Shadow Dragons and Pycon, who got special permission to train to pretty much be Goku's sparring partner. But they're all technical. But Pycon's technically dead, so he's not like he's taking up a whole lot of space.
Right.
So then we pretty much cut to like Pan, like with relatively within these 5 years. Pan is in middle school, I believe Pan's in middle school. Bolas, because this was one of the biggest blunders by Toei, and arguably Funimation when they were dubbing GT. Bula is 1 year younger than Pan. We were able to fully confirm that by Super. Bula is 1 year younger than Pan. She just wears skimpy attire to pretend to be more mature than what she is.
Yeah.
So in GT, she's like 9 or 10. I don't know
Yep.
if it was strictly because of the translation mistake and mistranslation, and Funimation made the best out of a bad situation, or they genuinely believe that the gap between End of Z and GT was 10 years and not 5.
Right.
But even if you factor the mistranslation, Pan and Bulla would be 13 and 14 rather than 10 and 9.
Yep. You just got to take Saiyans look young for a long period of time, despite their high in age.
And the one nitpick of GT and AF does actually address this, but one nitpick in GT is that Pan never gets a Super Saiyan form throughout the majority of GT. Now I get it; it was supposed to be an overarching callback to the overall story of Dragon Ball, the mystical adventure. They didn't want to rely on Z mechanics too much. From a story standpoint, I understand that, but but outside of pretty much splitting Bulma's original role of being the damn being the tech support and the occasional damsel, because that role was split between Pan and Trunks respectively. Pan barely contributes anything to the series, or at least GT, other than being Goku's sidekick.
True.
So she gets a bit more due than, let's say, Krillin in early Dragon Ball, but other than that,
Yeah. Not really much there.
but do you actually remember reading this story, Kid Takeoff, or is this just the first time you're hearing of this?
Uh, it's not the first time. It's just the fact it's been a while, so it's like, you know, a lot's coming back the more we talk about it. But I mean, there are like maybe some stuff I probably may have forget. So a lot of y'all bear with me on this.
Fair enough, but this is actually a pretty good year for Dragon Ball, 40th year in the anniversary.
Yep. And what's up, Tevia?
Oh, what's up? But what's up, Debbie? How you doing? But yeah, we were just talking about Dragon Ball AF and the rise of Zycor. But so then we cut to like 27 years later, the Special Dynamic, Mecha Frieza's been, and actually in AF you actually do get a brief cameo. Um, and actually you get a brief cameo. Kid, you mind muting yourself? I'm starting to lose my train of thought.
Uh,
Sorry about that. But actually, you get a brief cameo of Cooler. Well, technically, a Frost Demon similar to Cooler in AF. It's never really confirmed that it's him. But and then Shalia helps lead the exposition to help Mecha Frieza's reconstruction. But King Cold is insistent on going to Earth together. Basically, we then find out. I'm going strictly in flashback order rather than story order because I think it would make more sense that way. Basically, Shalia was the fallen West Supreme Kai who did survive the destruction of that planet when she fought Kid Buu, but was adrift in space until the Cold Empire found her, or at least an ancestor of the Cold Empire found her. It could have been it could have been King Cold himself, or it could have been his father and or grandfather. Since we don't really know how long the average life expectancy for frost demons, and even then, Cold, Frieza, and debatably Cooler are considered mutants among their people anyway. So let's just say, for the sake of simplicity, it was Cold who found her, and a deal was struck. So Shaw actually wants to steer the universe in the right direction, in a better direction, because Shin is too busy on his galleon hero quest, trying to avenge them and prevent Majin Buu from ever being released again. And we all know Bit Bobbity is basically a modern retread of Piccolo Daimao in the 23rd Budokai, but that's neither here or there. But even so, she feels disillusioned by Frieza after losing to a Saiyan so easily. So she recruits her next option, Goku. Now, from interacting with Goku, whether it be on Yardrat or a nearby planet in the sector, Shalia recognized that Goku could not be swayed, at least outside of battle. He can't be swayed easily. So she steals a blood sample and basically creates a clone, and that clone becomes Zycor. We don't really know too much about Zycor's childhood, other than the fact that Zycor is a hybrid Supreme Kai Saiyan hybrid, and he is a lord by battle. He does have a bit of a dark streak, but only when a battle really compels him for the sake of simplicity, because I do not want to get this taken down by YouTube's policies. If I had to argue a definitive difference between Zycor and Shalia and Goku Black and Zamasu, is the fact that one, Goku Black and Zamasu is the same person, and two, Zamasu is completely swayed by his own ego, almost to the point of narcissism. Shalia is arguably disillusioned and misguided by the fact that Shin and Kibito left her adrift. But again, Shin was a young Kai who was forced to grow into the mantle and help guide the universe in a better direction, since Shin was the youngest out of all the Supreme Kais. So Shin had to grow up very fast, and he was hell-bent on revenge, which was his biggest distraction as a Supreme Kai. So I don't really think Shalia really blames Shin or Kibito Shin, because in GT they never defused. So I don't think she really blames Kibito Kai. More so, she's resentful of the situation in general, thinking with Zyko by her side, she can conquer the universe and do a better job. Now we know from Super and the Omni Kings, Shalia ultimately wouldn't have gotten very far. But at least that's just a basic rendition before we get to present day of AF. Do you think I covered a decent balance so far, kid?
Yeah, you covered so far. I mean, from what I remember, is accurate. Now, I don't, like I said, we don't know much about Zykor's childhood, but I would say on power scaling, he possibly tops Zamasu and basically all the Supreme Kais, just because he's a Saiyan hybrid too.
So what is happening? Basically, we're giving a brief recap of AF itself, and then we're going to go into our opinions about it, because it's really a arguably 5-chapter fan manga. Only 4 chapters were officially done by Toyble. The 5th chapter was basically just a bunch of scripts. But I don't think Toyble / Toyotaro never officially finished it. But there had been leaks of a supposed 5th chapter online, or at least the sketches for it. But now, with all the origin and background explained, we might as well cut to present day. So it's after GT. Goten is pretty much taking up the new Saiyaman persona. Like, it's bad enough history's already repeating itself. I get it's a Super Sentai parody, but Jesus, I was never a big fan of the Saiyaman arc. I get that it's technically filler, but I had enough Super Sentai Power Ranger stuff with the Ginyu Force. I just thought the Great Saiyaman stuff was cringe as a kid. Not gonna lie. You either liked it or you didn't. I mean, would you agree, kid? Because the Saiyaman arc wasn't really that long.
Yeah, the Saiyaman arc wasn't really long. I was kind of, I didn't really pay much detail into that because I found it more like filler, like non, I guess, important content to this series, honestly.
And Tevia, technically, AF was Toyble's original fan manga that ultimately got him noticed by Toriyama, which paved the way for him creating Super. So basically, consider this Toyble's magnum opus before his career took off. But where was I? Oh yeah, but basically, yeah. The reason Gohan, the original Great Saiyaman arc, and the superhero prelude and the Super manga so different. One, you're comparing weekly syndication to monthly syndication in terms of manga and getting the chapter released. The Gohan, the original Great Saiyaman arc, the setup, the tournament, and the Buu saga as a whole, that lasted roughly a month worth of syndication, maybe a month and a half. So anywhere between 4 to 6 chapters. But Goten and Trunks' brief superhero tenure with Saiyaman X1 and X2, that lasted 6 months in real life. Still roughly the same amount of time, but because of the syndication difference, it was 6 months. And even then, it was probably supposed to go longer before they decided to cut it short. Like, hey, sales are down, we need to go ahead and amp it up. And I get it. Even manga can have filler on occasion, especially since they're trying to set everything up with the 40th anniversary. Black Frieza, because that has to get resolved since Super's an in-between prequel leading up to End of Z anyway. So I get that we're trying to stall time, but you could really cut out the X-Men X the Saiyaman X1 X2 stuff and nothing in the overall adaptation of superhero changes. It was just a subplot to give Trunks and Goten a bit more to do, which I don't mind. I'm just saying it shouldn't have been dragged out as much as it did. Would you agree, kid? Kid?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, but that with that little inquiry out of the way, so basically, all of a sudden, Goten's doing a superhero patrol. Then all of a sudden, they sense this huge key landing in a space pod on Earth. Zykor walks out of it. Now, I don't believe Shalia warps to Earth right away. She's kind of like observing the situation, but I don't think she's there alongside him. Zykor is just disembarking from a space pod, and he's curious since he wants to assert that he's the strongest in the universe and that his father was strong, even besting Frieza, and was consistently one of the strongest in the universe for over 2 decades. So Zykor kind of reminds me of Connor Kent's Superboy, just with a lot more bloodlust. At least the way he's carried him, at least the way he's characterized in the early chapters. Now, once the fighting starts, he becomes more sadistic, but that's neither here or there. But but again, Goten tries to confront him, like, what's going on? And then Zykor's first instinct, one, he can already recognize Goten as his key, but he kind of stretches his arms out and fires a point blank key blast to Goten's face. Now, considering the fact that Zykor is a Saiyan Kai hybrid and his monstrous potential that could arguably put Frieza to shame from concept alone, Goten should be dead. But he deliberately holds back just enough to keep Goten breathing and for Gohan and the others to actually sense his presence. Like you would actually have to track down and read the panel for yourself. Like this gets really gnarly really quick. We might cover that in a future dynamic duo or a rebranded dynamic trio episode, Tevia. I just haven't decided yet. But so basically you get the basic fanfare, Goten, Vegeta, Trunks try to rally and confront Zykor, and it just gets brutal. I mean,
it does.
Zykor's not even putting up a fight. Like he literally pulls a Majin Vegeta and fires just a pod shot energy blast in the distance and pretty much wipes out the western seaboard with the way that
man like Frieza, one little itty bitty sunball, and by the time it hits the ground, the thing turns the size of the whole goddamn planet and wipes out the entire freaking population. And it's just like, bro, like what is power scaling?
Again, as a fan manga, so you're not really supposed to take it seriously. But even then, Zykor's power is like bloated. Like I don't think at least the first skirmish, only Gohan. I don't even think Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, at least in the first skirmish, Zykor is barely trying. Like seriously, he mounts the floor with post GT Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, a Gohan who actually kept up his training consistently, but never rose higher than the Mystic form. But again, you can't really tell it's the Mystic form because GT's character design never shows him with the bank, so you can never tell.
Yeah.
But Zykor pretty much just mops the floor with everyone until, in a desperate stroke of luck from Kibito Kai's intervention, they seal Zykor away in the Z-Sword. But because Zykor is so monstrously powerful, he'll break out of it within the span of a month.
Yeah. That's what it, yeah. If anything, what if they would have hit him in the dead zone?
I don't think the only person who, even if you factor the movies, the only person who actively has access to the dead zone was Garlic Jr. himself. And the whole premise of that would be how self-destructive Garlic Jr. was, since he ultimately falls for his own trap twice, both in the original movie and in the filler arc in
Okay. Z. What if they would have changed? Okay. Let's just fast forward, because if this is after GT, apparently GT and all that happened after Super.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing. Why didn't Whis lock him up or chain him up in his little staff, in his staff thing? Apparently, Whis has access to some sort of like prison in his
Pocket
staff.
dimension.
Yeah, and and there was a fan manga where Whis chained Goku up in there.
Yes, I have seen that concept running around with what if the gods betrayed Goku and Vegeta? What if Goku was betrayed or trapped in the time chamber? I've actually seen that concept before.
So I'm like, why didn't they? What if? Why didn't like they not have the concept for or because Whis had the power, boom, lock. He was not getting out of there.
So, okay, first answer. This was before any concepts of Super. Toriyama's return from retirement after being pissed off from how Dragon Ball Evolution panned out. So a lot of that was in response to that. But if you actually want a retroactive answer in context of Super, Zycor is a child. Even when you cut to AF proper, Zycor is numerically 27 years old, but has the lifespan of a Kai. So he can live for thousands of years, if not millennia, if not an eon. So by a Kai or God standards, Zycor is still a child, misguided and a pawn of his mother, but a child nonetheless.
Which would have at least, I think, would have made him at least Beerus Whist's, responsibility and priority as a child, a deity.
Which is probably because, yeah, Shalia has made an active effort to clean up Beerus's relative indifference when he took his 40-year nap, and Shin was too busy on his righteous crusade preventing Majin Buu ever getting out. So yeah, that's probably why they would, if we're factoring Super in all of this, that's probably why you can make the argument they never killed or sealed away Zycor, because Shalia was actually cleaning up their mess, was actually helping trim the herd and clean up their mess.
Because that would have been an easy fix if they would have trapped him in the pocket dimension and Whist's staff. That's it. Like he's not
It,
getting out.
it's more likely they would actually try to train and groom him for this mantle of destroyer, since that would be an easier rather than letting that power go to waste. He just Zycor just desperately needed guidance
So you
rather than just
saying
being.
so you're saying they'll probably train him as a god of destruction candidate?
Yeah, because he's a Saiyan Kai hybrid. He can live for years on end, if not millennia. Granted, it would probably be a few centuries before he would actually have the mental fortitude to be worthy of the role or go through Hakai training. But at the very least, Whis and Beerus would have given Zycor a much better foundation, rather than a delusioned Kai like Shalia and the Frieza Force or the remnant of the Frieza Force themselves.
And that
If
would
we're
have turned
factoring,
and that would have turned the tables of AF if that would happen. Then a lot of the battles, Goku going Super Saiyan 5 against Zycor. Now that was an epic battle because Zycor was mopping the floor out with everybody, and Goku tapped into that.
but Goku only has that power because I don't know if this is just about every version of AF, but it's mostly the ones I've seen. When he goes into the Dragon Realm, Goku does merge and become the new physical embodiment of Shinron. Now that the Dragon Balls are permanently inert, so that's how, and that's basically the only real consistent way Goku gets Super Saiyan 5. Other than the now, there had been Young Gigi's version where they just happen to achieve emotional enlightenment and achieve Super Saiyan 5 that way. But that's
Goku was screaming for like 6 minutes straight, and he had gray long hair and gray fur.
again, a lot of modern Super took elements from AF, or at least what Toyotaro was inspired in relation to AF. Ultra Instinct and Path of Enlightenment. Granted, a basic concept, but still relatively toned down. Ultra Instinct and Enlightenment is arguably a universal concept, but you could argue elements of Super Saiyan 5 were incorporated into it. But
Right.
Zycor would definitely was the inspiration for Goku Black. And I don't know if this was just both the dub and sub, but there was a throwaway line where Goku originally suspected that Black was a clone of him. That's the closest to a canon reference to Zycor you're going to get, or at the very least, an acknowledgement.
Goku Black.
Now, if they do canonize Zycor or try to allow Tortaro to play with the concept again, it would have to be in a way to where you can't really go the Tarzan route because that's ultimately what they did with Super Broly. But they would have to go the original Z Broly route where he's just a savage.
Or canonize Cooler. Give him some spotlight. Remake Cooler.
You really wouldn't have to do much in terms of canonizing Cooler. Like, say, after Cole chose to placate and give Frieza the Empire, criminal empire, Cooler scouts the universe on a decades-long exile, then stumbles onto Beerus's planet, trains under Whis, trains under Yardratini for a bit. That's how he gets instant transmission. And then after Cold and Mecha Frieza's inevitable demise, he helps put the galaxy back in order in the front of a galactic republic. Not out of genuine goodness, but by the principle of a democracy, he could better maneuver things from the shadows rather than being so brazen and arrogant like his father and brother were.
True. I just want to see it since they made Broly's power scaling in Super greater than Z. I want to see what they would do with Cooler.
Technically, Broly is basically like a special case among Saiyans. He's not directly stated as the legendary Super Saiyan in Super, but it's still that original concept. So with Broly, you could just amp him up and say that yeah, you could have Broly pretty much escalate the power creep relatively quickly. Cooler would have to have a more intellectual route, like go to different planets, different cultures, training. And the only reason he didn't fight Frieza on Resurrection F was because, hey, Frieza's just going to beeline to Earth to get his revenge on Goku and Vegeta before he does anything else. Because that's how petty and arrogant Frieza is. So, more than likely, either Goku, Vegeta, or the combination of the two will ultimately take Frieza down. Worst
Now,
case scenario.
here's a question. As long as it took Frieza to get Black Frieza, now Cooler apparently is rumored to be amazingly stronger than Frieza, even in his base form.
Prior to Golden Frieza and finding that time chamber, yes.
But you see, here's the thing: the Cooler movies wasn't canon. We don't know, like literally and like exactly where Cooler is and how much training he has done through Super, Resurrection F, and all that. So there's no telling that Cooler probably already has hit a similar black form before Frieza, or not even golden.
Maybe. But again, that's strictly a hypothetical.
Because he
But
also had an extra form on top of his full power form.
Cooler never had a full power form. He just had his fifth form, which allowed him to surpass Frieza.
Yeah,
But he never
that
had a
form.
full powered state.
Oh, that form. Yeah, that little fifth, that little extra form. That's what I meant.
But yeah, Cooler, you wouldn't have to really have to do a whole lot. You would just have to explain
The power
what he was.
scaling. The power scaling.
Power scaling would probably be your biggest issue, and because the only way Cooler could really be a threat is if Cooler became a destroyer candidate during his exile, but only left. Let's go ahead and get this out the way since we're probably going to be thinking about it throughout this video. But okay, hypothetically speaking, the most logical way you could do this is, as I previously mentioned, Cooler gets snubbed of the criminal empire. He goes on a 40-year exile, stumbles on Beerus's planet, trains under Whis. Beerus is still in his nap, so he doesn't really learn Hakai powers, but he learns the guardianship, the purpose of destruction and creation. Then all of a sudden, the Frieza force pretty much all but collapses, and then Cooler takes advantage of the power vacuum. Now, Cooler does have a choice. He could wait a few more years for Beerus to wake up and continue his training and learn and take the next step and become a destroyer, or he could help mend the rift of the universe now and spare the galaxy a civil war. Cooler ultimately does this largely for his own ambition and to get one last stick at his brother and Frieza from beyond the grave. Now, is it in character for Cooler to give up potential destroyer / godhood for something as petty as being the third wheel in his father's dynasty? To an extent, since he does have an inferiority complex in relation to Frieza and how much he's favored by Cold. But that's mostly due to Cold's manipulations and his overall grandstanding in trying to rule the galaxy.
And then here's another thing you have to take into consideration. Cooler's little squadron will mop the floor out with Zarbon, Dodoria, all like them up. They were savage.
I would say bare minimum, Cooler's armored squadron were Ginyu level, bare minimum.
There were no and Frieza only has Zarbon and Dodoria as his top two.
But Frieza was so strong himself, so he didn't really need anyone really too strong. Zarbon and Dodoria were just the most loyal to him.
Yeah, they would have marked that Z on them real quick, put him to sleep.
But quick tangent aside, so yeah, and actually, Zyko pretty much wants to floor with everyone. He gets sealed in the Z Sword in a very desperate effort. So now they need to find a way to similar to reignite the Dragon Balls and use them to actually summon Goku. Vegeta thinks they could just train the remaining month, Vegeta being prideful as ever, since he doesn't want to drag Goku out of the Dragon Realm strictly to bail them out. Vegeta, sure, he's not as obsessed in his rivalry as Goku as, say, his earlier incarnations were, but even he must recognize the reality of he's
The
too strong for us.
situation, yeah.
He's too strong for us. I wish Gotenks actually played a role in this fan manga, but adult Gotenks isn't a thing here. But you do get to see the return of Z Broly since they are Saiyan short, and this arguably leads to something similar to the Super Saiyan God ritual. 6 or 7 Super Saiyans, 7 Super Saiyans channeling their power into each of the Dragon Balls to reignite them. And so they go to Namek to bring Broly back, and Broly does play along, but only because Toyble / Toyotaro had to completely rework Broly here, give him a deeper motivation other than his projected hatred for Goku. Not because of the meme, but because he identifies Goku in the relation to everything that happened to him in the nursery, from being stabbed by that dagger to Planet Vegeta's destruction to being adrift and channeling his powers in a pure instinct to survive.
Right.
Seeing Goku, interacting with Goku's very presence reignites Broly's PTSD, or triggers him, if you will. But I feel like that's a fundamental factor. That's a nuanced factor, I should say, that gets ultimately overlooked because of the Kakarot stuff. Because from a mental health perspective, yeah, Broly is severely traumatized and feral and practically feral in a transformed state. So, and Paragus, both in the movie and in Super, Paragus is relatively the same. The only difference is he had the resources to actually get off the best ball they ended up in. Whereas in Super, they were just stranded on Yardrat. But so Paragus in either version is relatively the same. But with that being said, they do ultimately reluctantly revive Broly because they're Saiyan short, even after showcasing that Pan and Bulla learned how to transform in the 5 years since GT. Which again, in GT, neither Pan nor Bulla could transform nor even showcase they had Super Saiyan at all. They were practically background characters. So, and yeah, this ultimately culminates in everyone going to the time chamber, getting a brief training arc. And they still get, at least now they actually force Zycor to try this go around. Like, like it when I tell you it's a freaking curb stomp, like, Jesus, I mean, Trunks practically gets elbow benched in the spine.
Oh, he's practically paralyzed for the rest of his life.
Gohan gets smacked. Even Krillin tries to get a few licks in.
Oh my God, it's Krillin time! Boom! And you hear that little Krillin count. Ding! And you look, Gohan gets smacked, probably face all deformed. He's gonna be autistic for the rest of his life.
Hey, chill on that.
I'm just saying, look, Gohan went from smart to dumb real quick.
But
oh, you can't say that's not funny. You can't say that was not funny.
No comment.
Bro, but long story short, when I say this demonic, half Kai, Saiyan, human, whatever you want to call, this man, you thought Beerus versus the Z Fighters at first was a flick of the wrist? No, this man barely lifted a fingernail.
The sheer presence of his power pretty much knocked everyone back. Like,
oh, I'm surprised. Didn't Piccolo get a shot at him too?
No, Piccolo was still in Hell because we got to factor.
Oh, I was about to say Piccolo did. Oh my God.
Now, Pygon was there, and most of chapter 3 is pretty much trying to give Broly some nuance and actually basically regurgitating what I just told you. But yeah, I don't even think Broly even, at least from the actual finished chapters, Broly even contributes to the fight, or at least he doesn't transform during the fight.
Well,
he does.
I remember seeing. Yeah, he did transform. It was
he didn't go legendary. Excuse me.
No, he did go legendary. and
Oh,
it was to the point where Broly just kept getting bodied, and Zycor is sitting there smiling. Broly's getting frustrated. Broly, got beat to a pulp, and Vegeta steps in. Vegeta goes Super Saiyan 3, bodies him, and Broly was like, okay, Vegeta couldn't do nothing, so Broly tries Super Saiyan 3. Nothing. There was nothing they could have done against Zycor at all.
and before someone cries overpowered, this is a Saiyan Kai hybrid, a direct clone of Goku, and was mentored and guided, for better for worse, by a rogue Kai with millennia, if not eons, of experience.
Yes, so she probably knows fighting more deeper than anybody does. Like this dude is probably like Yamoshi's level. Like, this man like fights for a living.
And like the only one who, and again, we don't really see the Goku versus Zycor fight, but it's displayed to be pretty epic if those sketches were anything to go by. And once Goku comes into play, it's just about over.
Yeah, once Goku shows up, all you hear is Vegeta says Kakaroto. And then Goku's like, I'll handle it from here. Goku tries Super Saiyan. You know how Goku does. He tests his enemies throughout his transformations first.
Yeah, he plays around a little bit.
He goes Super Saiyan. Nothing. Super Saiyan 2. Nothing. Super Saiyan 3. They're a little towing, a little bit. So then Goku goes Super Saiyan 4. Okay, the battle's getting a little interesting. And then we may have got a sneak glimpse of Super Saiyan 5, but like I say, we don't really see the ending of the fight.
No, we do not.
But once Goku goes Super Saiyan 5, all you see is Vegeta's eyes about blown out his head.
Pretty much.
Everybody powers down at that point saying, oh, you got it, bro.
And that is the supposed ending of Toyble / Toyotaro's AF, since again, the 5th chapter was never officially finished. Or at least the fight itself wasn't finished. Lila or West Kai, I believe West Kai is killed at some point in chapter 4, but I don't really remember.
True.
Because I'm going from memory. But yeah, because Kibito Kai sacrifices himself. Yeah, so Lady Kai does die at some point.
Yeah, that is true. But have you heard the anime news? So February 23rd, 24th, Demon Slayer movie, beginning of season 4, is hitting theaters. I'm going. And I'm definitely probably going to be live streaming probably the beginning, at least to the, intro to the movie.
It's not worth risking getting your channel taken down, man.
I'm talking about like going into the theater. Like once the movie plays, no, that's disrespectful. I would throw somebody's phone against the wall if their phone is on. Cause I don't want to be looking down and seeing a phone screen.
Exaggerations aside.
But anybody, I do highly recommend. It's the beginning of the Hashira arc. So I don't know how many Demon Slayer fans is out there. And look out for Dragonball Daima. That's going to be dropping soon.
Which I don't think, at least in my opinion, I don't think it's canon. It's just a 40th anniversary special.
It is canon.
Okay, I have not seen a source of that confirming that anywhere, but I will let you know when I have more information.
Well, I mean, that's as far from like what I've heard or like other like, major people. They were just saying that, like we're probably not going to get a Dragon Ball Super. But so this is basically our new Dragon Ball Super, basically. So, and until this is over, I don't think we're going to get like, like any more additional stuff similar to like the previous Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, I do not see the anime getting revived with Dragon Ball Super Season 2. I think it's just going to be movie content or specials from here on out. The only way they could really secure another anime slot is if they actually do work with Toei to procure one. But if Battle Hour was anything to go by, I'm pretty sure they're just going to cut straight to streaming, cut the middleman, and go straight to streaming. I wouldn't be surprised.
But an additional thing, I put a tweet on Twitter I want to see if I can get as many people as I need for a custom lobby on Apex, because I'm probably going to give away one of my for the winning team. I'm probably going to give away one of my retro consoles, either my PS3, PS2, or my Game Boy Color.
Okay.
But it's just to see. I mean, people got to comment on it though. So
Fair enough. But but yeah, now that we recap the story, AF to me it's wasted potential. Not so much that Toyble slash Toyotaro couldn't finish it, but more so it's a small little time capsule to what Super would ultimately become.
right now, I feel like Super. It'll be interesting if Super would have went the Zygor route.
I mean, it's still. I mean, again, there's not too many differences. I guess the Zamasu route was more simplistic. Oh, it's a real. Oh, he's narcissistic. He's very egotistical, and it was kind of a desperate bid to save the series from cancellation due to low sales. So, because Super was very quickly becoming the Goku and Vegeta show, so bring future Trunks back, do some fan service. So yeah, I just feel like Zycor would have been too muddled or convoluted to bring back. But if you had a character very similar, like Goku Black, it was serviceable. It was a very basic rendition of AF, or at least his version, but simplistic enough that Toei would approve it. Because again, the Super manga was originally made to promote the anime. It was not a individual project. It was a promotional piece.
Right.
But let me remove this breaking news banner. But anything else you want to add, man?
Well, as far as y'all have not heard, my birthday is gonna be on the 6th. So depending how anything goes, I will probably do a birthday. Maybe I'll probably do a birthday gaming live stream. I might do about an hour or two Apex. I just got Clone Hero, by the way, so probably play some Guitar Hero on live. Whatever games that.
Do people even play Guitar Hero anymore? Like, I'm genuinely curious.
Well, yeah, it's called Clone Hero. It's for PC.
Okay, so basically Guitar Hero. Okay.
And it's like free to download. It's very hard to import songs. You like downloading them to your computer, importing them into the game. It's a lot. I got over like 500 now, so. But
okay.
But other than that, besides that Apex custom lobby, I don't know how many people to see if I do. If there's 20, I need 60 people, and that's enough for 20 squads of 3. That's enough for a trios match.
Sounds like a good deal, all things considered. So if you're interested in Apex, be sure to check that out.
And you should find the post on my Twitter page.
As for me, I am currently doing a playthrough on Mass Effect, as well as I'm still doing Swoltor content, as well as I'm actually prepping for a recently collab on a old Naruto what if I made a few years back, and it's one of the more popular videos of my channel, to where I decided to bring that back, and I'm close to 200 subscribers, so maybe we can reach that threshold before the end of the year.
And if y'all love my bro, y'all, and I'm pretty sure y'all love me too. You know, I'm your boy Kid, you know what I'm saying? So for my birthday, please hit my subscribe button too. It'll mean a lot.
Yes, please do subscribe, like, comment, subscribe to both of us. I greatly appreciate it. And this is considered you will receive more updates on Dynamic Trio in the future. But right now, this was just an old Dynamic Duo episode that got delayed for months on end. So I'm finally glad we had enough availability to get this out to you all.
Definitely.
But any final thoughts on AF or Super or anything else you want to say, Kid?
Please bring back season 2 of Dragon Ball Super. We need more. We don't need Daima, but I'll check it out though. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. And to you, like, comment, subscribe. Flame off.